In this movie I'm going to show you how to keep track of the clicks, because somehow we need to tell the Flash player that the person has clicked on this once or twice or 3 times, and to load the appropriate JPEG based on how many times they've clicked forward or how many times they've clicked back. So what I'm going to do is, for just a minute, I'm going to, let me bring up what we've already got so far. Okay. For just a minute, I'm going to disregard the loading, JPEG loading. So I'm going to comment those lines of code out and just focus on keeping track of the clicks. In order to keep track of the clicks, I'm going to create a variable. Var means create an object, and I'm just going to call it click tracker. Looks like click is a taken word, so it's a dedicated ActionScript word, so I can't use it. So I'll call it click tracker, and I'll tell Flash that this happens to be a number variable, and I'll set it equal to 0. So I'm doing it this way because I'm going to how do I say this? Tell Flash that 0 means the first slide, 1 means the second slide, 2 means the third slide, etc. So if I go back out here, what I'm meaning is, this is when click tracker is 0, I want this one to load. When click tracker is 1, I want this slide to load, and when click tracker is 2, I want this slide to load. So 0, 1, 2. We're going to count from 0 because that will help us later on. Instead of counting from 1, we're going to count from 2, or from 0. So let me go back to Flash. So I just set this variable equal to 0 to start with. And now whenever I click on the forward button, I want to add 1 to the value of that variable. So I'm going to say click tracker plus plus when I click forward, and when I click back, I'm going to say click tracker minus minus. Okay? Now, how do I know that this is really happening, that anything's happening to click tracker? I've become somewhat of a critic and skeptical when there's problems and I can't tell why. It might be because something's happening behind my back that I can't see. Well, there's a little trick in ActionScript. It's a verb that I'd like to teach you called trace. So I'm just going to type trace. What trace does is it's a debugger verb that will put anything that I tell it to in this panel right here, this output panel. And so, for example, if I said trace hello world, then when I test my movie and click on the forward button, it traced, or it wrote hello world in the output panel. Okay, that's not very helpful, but instead of tracing hello world, I'm going to trace click tracker. Okay, so let's try that. Now when I click on the forward button, it traces the value of click tracker. Okay, looks like it's working perfectly. Let's try this one. If I click back, oh, nothing happens. Why didn't anything happen? Well, something actually is happening. I clicked twice. Watch what happens when I click forward. It's not 6, it's 3. Why? Because it subtracted 2 and then added 1 or something. Maybe I clicked 3 times. But anyway, something is happening, but it's not putting it in the output panel because I didn't put trace click tracker down here in the back button. So now I've copied that and pasted it down here. So now when I test my SWIF again, forward and back. Okay, forward and back. It's keeping track of the clicks. Now, there's a little problem. -1. I don't have a -1 picture. My pictures start at 0 and go 0, 1, 2. There is no -1. So here, I guess here's the other problem at the other end. I don't have a 3. My pictures start at 0 and go to 2. Okay, so we'll solve that problem in the next tutorial.